In this video, I'm going to show you how to lose between 8 and 10 pounds of stubborn belly fat using methods that are fully backed by science. The first thing that we need to do is to figure out your macronutrient targets to ensure that you are in a calorie deficit. If we have got a goal of losing stubborn belly fat over the next 30 days, we need to ensure that we are consistently in a calorie deficit, or simply this will not happen. I have put on the screen for you now an incredibly simple way for you to figure out your targets, both from a calorie perspective and also from a protein perspective as well. Now, where a lot of people overcomplicate their dieting phase when they want to lose fat is by setting themselves too many targets that are very specific that just aren't necessary for the goal that they have. So what we need to ensure is that we don't overcomplicate things here and we make it incredibly easy for you to lose fat over the coming weeks. So working out your targets here, the first thing that you're probably going to notice is that I haven't set you a fat or a carbohydrate goal. Now, the reason for that is as long as we are in a calorie deficit and we're consuming a good amount of protein, the split that we have between fats and carbs is not going to make a difference. And in my experience, all that does is lead to overwhelm. It leads to overcomplicating your diet. It becomes too difficult to stick with and you just end up giving up and going back to square one. So rather than setting too many goals for yourself, I'm just going to make this really simple for you. I want you to use the calculations to work out the calorie target that puts you in a deficit, set the protein goal, and ensure you stick with those numbers. But when it comes to the carbs and it comes to the fats, I'm going to give you that flexibility to decide what works for you depending on what food choices that you like, and just make it really easy to implement. The next thing we need to consider for our goal of losing belly fat over the next 30 days is our food choices. Now, again, this is an area where people often overcomplicate things and they try and change too much at once, and it just becomes too difficult to be able to stick with. In my experience, most people, when we actually look at the meals that they're eating from breakfast, lunch and dinner, these meals aren't horrendous. Most people, they're not coming from a start point where they're having pizza 4 or 5 times a week. So often what I would recommend is, rather than looking to overhaul your entire diet, bring in all these new recipes that are complicated, that take time, require you to learn how to cook different ways and get ingredients that you haven't used before, I would much rather that you stick to the same meals that you're having at the moment, but look to make amendments in a couple of different ways. The first being you amend the portion sizes that you're having, and the second being that you ensure that every meal that you have has a source of protein in. And what that is going to do is to help you feel full at every single meal and reduce your want and need to snack throughout the course of the day. Now, what you're going to need to do is to download an app such as MyFitnessPal, a food tracking app, and get confident with knowing the amount of calories that you're consuming throughout the course of the day and week. Now, what that is likely going to involve is spending time weighing out food, weighing out the meals that you're having. However, that task will be incredibly valuable in getting you confident in terms of your knowledge and awareness around your calorie consumption and your protein consumption. And over the long term, this will put you in a position where you are able to make much better decisions when it comes to food. The other important thing that I want you to do is to look to split your calories out evenly over the course of the day. Let's say, for example, your calorie target is 2,000. That is what puts you in a deficit. Rather than just having breakfast, lunch and dinner, what I want you to do is to put aside somewhere between 300 and 500 calories at some point midway through the afternoon, and use this as a snack that's going to prevent you from making bad decisions that don't align with your goal. A mistake that people often make is that they'll have their lunch and they'll leave this long gap of perhaps 6 or 7 hours between lunch and dinner, and it's just too long. You get hungry, you get headaches, you end up going for the snack cupboard and making a bad decision. However, if you know that you've only got to wait 2 to 3 hours and you've got another 300, 400, 500 calories there, this will make it much easier with staying compliant with your calorie goal that you've set. The other thing that we must consider is that it's incredibly important that we stay consistent with this goal, not just Monday to Friday, but Saturdays and Sundays too. Weekends account for nearly 30% of the year, and if we are going off plan every weekend, that is easily going to stop us from losing belly fat and making progress with this goal of shredding 8 to 10 pounds in the next 30 days. The next thing we need to consider are two really important things that we need to implement into our routine. The first is ensuring that we are doing strength training at least 2, but ideally 3 times per week. Now, if you are not confident with what you need to be doing in the gym, how to do exercises correctly, I have added in the description a plan that you can use to create and tailor your own workouts, including video demonstrations and exercise replacements for each body part to make this really simple for you. So head to the link in the bio and make sure that you download that now so that you can become confident with what to do in the gym to successfully shred 8 to 10 pounds of fat in the next 30 days. The second thing that we need to be doing is implementing a daily step count. We need to be moving more often. The average step count in the UK is something like 3,000 steps per day, and that is going to be nowhere near enough if we have got a goal of shredding fat in the next 30 days. I'm going to set you a target of 10,000 steps as a weekly average. So what that would mean is if you were to do 8,000 steps today on a day where you're a little bit busier, but you did 12,000 steps tomorrow, that would be completely fine. But over the course of the week, you need to push yourself to hit 10,000 steps as that daily average. Now that might mean changing your routine. It might mean getting out in the morning, going for a walk on lunch, going for a walk after work. Whatever you need to do, we need to ensure that we are moving. The more that we move, the more calories that we're going to be burning, the greater calorie deficit that we will be in, and the faster rate of loss that we will see from a fat loss perspective. So this is something that we cannot neglect. If we want to see incredible progress over the next 30 days, we've got to be getting into the gym 2 to 3 times per week and hitting our daily step goal of at least 10,000 steps per day as that weekly average. Finally, I want you to track your progress by weighing yourself daily first thing in the morning before you've had anything to eat or drink. This is really important because if you have a glass of water, you have your breakfast first, that's going to really impact the number that we see on the scale. So you will weigh yourself as soon as you wake up and do that every single day, and you are just going to use that number on the scales as data and not let it emotionally impact you. We will expect to see fluctuations from things such as inflammation, water retention, digestion, from poor sleep. So that number is going to go up and down, but when we weigh ourselves every day, we can take a weekly average, and that will allow us to know for certain that our body weight is coming down at the rate that we want to see, we are shredding that belly fat, and that things are moving in the right direction. Implement the steps that I've given you in this video today, and I can guarantee you in the next 30 days, you will have shred 8 to 10 pounds of fat and be on the way to seeing those abs in time for summer.